Okay, this is looking at circuit board related stuff, so, which I thought was kind of interesting. And of course, you got shit like this, $10 an hour, yeah, from a fucking staffing company. And take a look at it. Um, must have soldering experience. That's me. I could definitely qualify for this. 1 year PCB assembly experience, really, for $10 an hour. That's way less than what these other guys are advertising. Formal coding. Cono bond. I guess I don't know about my sources. It's still, third hole. High school diploma, 6 months printed circuit board assembly experience preferred. I say a year up here, but for $10 an hour, that's a joke. And it better not be a salary for $10 an hour. But of course, all this I would qualify for eminently. But that's not one of the better paying jobs. But that's their staffing company. And LaBarge, is offering some jobs here. Requires a high school diploma, 6 months printed circuit board assembly, but they don't advertise pay rate, so I have no idea. Pick and place machine. Again, I've never done that before, but that's okay since they're just requiring a high school diploma. This is definitely entry level work. But at any rate, a place like this, you certainly apply to. I'm surprised they're still around, LaBarge. But they're kind of a sort of a competitor of ours, even though we weren't really directly doing that, except at first. Anyway, some of these companies, you might be able to get a job at, because I ran a company like theirs. So, although not up to their level, but I still ran a company like theirs. See, this is another LaBarge job too, and it's a similar too. So this probably has some, certifications, high school diploma, but 2 years of printed circuit board experience, which I do have. I don't have licenses or certifications, and I'm not IPC A610, whatever that is. But component identification skills, component prep. Used to own a couple of wave soldering machines, but we never got them into production because I needed the leads clipped. So I was in the process of automating, but I never got very far along on that. I mean, I had some of the equipment I needed, but basically, anyway, these are jobs I could apply for sure. I mean, I don't know what this pays, but you look at this. Okay, assemblers. This is another one of those staffing companies. But still, it's below my pay grade. Fine solder test. Machine skills. I mean, anyway, that's interesting, but certainly doesn't pay very well for the qualifications they have. You got this down here, you know, which is what I'm sort of looking for. First and second shift. It's another staffing company, but 6 months experience building through hole and surface mount printed circuit board assemblies. So it's strictly entry level, dress code, casual. You know, this is something that I might consider applying for, because I certainly have the experience, even though it is entry level. I don't know how they could say that and then say this down here, but that's okay because I do have certainly over 2 years of soldering experience. So anyway, that's just interesting. Oh shit. And then PCB design, you know, we only have, you can see what the, see that's designer, so you gotta ignore that. Anyway, they got basically two over here. One is from Labarge, and then one is this, which is really kind of strange. They don't tell you what the pay rate is, though. But they will hire people, you know, because I do have basically 9 years of professional work experience. I have 6 years running my own company, you know, or 7 or 8 years running my own company. And then, of course, I've done this too, you know, for Carlson and, you know, Harbert. And at any rate, this is a job I could apply for, but it's in fucking Bartlesville. $132,000 employees, so, you know, a huge conglomerate. Jesus. At any rate, those are pretty much the categories and circuit boards, but I'm just saying that, you know, there's opportunity there if you can find the right job, you know, but most of these will be under my pay requirements. But, you know, with that one, you know, here, you know, because, you know, you can get a job like this, you know, if like $16 an hour is acceptable. So if you can get in there at that kind of a pay level and that kind of a job, you know, you could advance through the ranks, because I'm more than qualified to do electronics assembly, depending on what they're after. If they want me to do fine pitch manual soldering, well, I don't know how the shit you do that. You know, got a damn microscope and one hell of a steady hand. But the point is that I'm familiar enough with all these processes to do that and that kind of thing. I'm surprised there are really any jobs here in America, let alone Tulsa, let alone America, you know, for doing that sort of thing. But I mean, it's something that I'm kind of qualified for. I mean, I could do that. So that's another area that you may kind of look at when you're ready to get a job, because it is something I could theoretically do, as long as I wasn't doing that very long. Let's see what we find here. A monster truck driver. Yeah, that's Lockheed Martin. What the fuck? All this stuff. Monster is not really very good. And over on, on some of these lesser sites, I may just go through them individually and mostly focus on, though, Indeed, because Indeed seems to be a better location for hunting for jobs. But at any rate, the point is that this is, oops. Well, like I said, you can kind of see here, that we've got 2 jobs under this category, 1 job under this category, and then 7 jobs in this category is when we're looking at, and then 7 jobs here. So yeah, that's the one in Bartlesville. So anyway,